Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another anime review. Today we are reviewing Record of Ragnarok, and the reason why I wanted to talk about Record of Ragnarok, even though I'm basically 2 weeks late to this situation, or actually it's just only a week, but it's because my opinion on it is actually kind of different from the majority of people's opinions. And this is based on, I think, two facts. One, the fact that I already had low expectations of it because I reacted to the trailers and I knew that the animation wasn't going to be that good since it's a Netflix show. And two, because I haven't read the source material. So to me, this is my first introduction to the material, and I actually didn't find it to be that bad based on what I know. The only part of the manga that I've read is the first chapter, which I did read via scans because I wanted to know the premise before I did any reactions / videos about this series. But I stopped reading that because I don't really like reading scans, and because I don't find it be like very ethical / moral to kind of get popularity and money off of, well, I don't get money from YouTube yet, but in the future when I do, I don't find it very ethical / moral to kind of make money off of stealing mangaka's content, right? So, and then talking about it, right? So, my opinion on Record of Ragnarok is actually pretty positive. Probably in the thumbnail, I'll leave some kind of message to say that it's actually not that bad. And I wanted to share that because the majority of people that are talking about Record of Ragnarok are pretty negative about it. So, yeah, now let's get into the kind of data of the series, and then I'll talk about the premise, and then we'll do the regular review like we usually do. You can actually skip all the way to the rating section if you want to. I mean, I don't mind. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to hear me talk about the stuff that is pretty relevant, which is the animation and the rating itself, you guys can just skip over to the sections there. It's on the chapters. You guys can read whatever you like, or you can watch whatever section you like. It's fine. But yeah, so the studio is Graphinica, and they're pretty minimal. They're pretty small, and the majority of the work they've done is in a team. They haven't actually worked by themselves on anything beyond Record of Ragnarok. Most of the stuff that they've worked on has been in like cahoots or with another company, which is like their parent company. And so these guys aren't really the best animators to begin with. And I mean, this showed in the trailers, and this definitely showed in the animation we got in the series. But I also heard that they didn't get that much time to work on the animation. They only got about 2 months, which is pretty horrifying. I assume that they spent a lot of time working without getting paid, and that's pretty horrifying. But getting only 2 months to work a whole 12-episode series kind of shows why they had to do the stuff that they had to do in order to get it out, right? So, I mean, I would kind of hope that you guys are pretty empathic about their situation, and I mean, enjoy the series for what it is, which is an advertisement for the manga and for the other stuff that they're gonna sell off of it, right? So yeah, the source material is obviously Record of Ragnarok, the manga, which is in Japanese called Shumatsu no Valkyrie, and it's written by Shinya Umemura and Tayuki Fukui. So, yeah, I mean, good job to them for getting an anime, and hopefully we get to see more of their stuff in English after Viz releases the Record of Ragnarok manga. The demographic for the manga is seinen, so the demographic for this is also seinen, but it's not really for the fan service aspects. It's more because of the crazy violence and gore. And the genres here are battle royale, tournament, martial arts, and I would say a type of historical fantasy in the sense of historical figures being present in fantasy settings, as opposed to the other way around, which is historical period with fantasy stuff added to it, right? So yeah, the premise here is basically that the gods have gathered after 1,000 years, which is like however long they take to do these decisions, to decide what to do with humanity, and they have chosen to end us because they're bored with the way we act. They think we aren't grateful enough to them anymore. We don't treat the world correctly, and so they're going to end us. And as Zeus, the current king of the gods, is going to strike his gavel and declare our end, a Valkyrie called Brunhild, shows up. And a Valkyrie is a Norse angelic being that takes warriors that die to Odin to fight for him in the Ragnarok. Now, Brunhild calls a Ragnarok, which in this case is not like the end of the world, but rather a tournament that is held between 13 humans and 13 gods in a 1-on-1 brawl, and the goal is to win 7 times out of 13. And basically, we get to see 3 of the fights, and we get introduced to the 4th contestants for the next fight, which would be Season 2. And I actually thought it was pretty well done. I mean, the majority of the good stuff here is the plotline, the characters, and the world building, which is all stuff that the creators of the manga did, not the animators themselves. The animation is subpar. Well, actually, not really. It's only subpar for 10 seconds in the 8th episode, which is the stuff that everyone complains about, the stupid slideshow thing that happened. But I mean, personally, I won't let 10 seconds of a 4-hour series ruin it for me. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, right? Like, what the heck? It's not that big a deal. Now, of course, I haven't read the source material. I'm not a fan of the source material. So my opinion is different based on that fact, primarily, right? So, the animation was pretty piss poor sometimes, but generally it was okay. I mean, it was more or less the same you can expect for every kind of long-running anime that you've ever seen. I mean, stuff like Naruto and Dragon Ball and stuff had a lot of the techniques that they used here in order to cut on the progress time, or on the production time, so it's not that big a deal. The music was pretty good though, so I kind of liked it for that sense. So the plotline here is very solid. It's good. The premise is pretty enjoyable, and although it's a pretty simple idea, it doesn't take away from how good it is. It's like above average for sure. It's really enjoyable, actually. And like I said, this is because of the manga, the mangaka being good, not the anime itself being good. And it's a pretty meaningful battle royale that we get to see 3 fights for. The first fight is between Thor, the god of thunder from Norse mythology, and Lu Bu, which is a Chinese general, a historical figure that is essentially pretty similar to Genghis Khan, but like he's fully Chinese instead of from Mongolia. Then the second battle, which is Adam, like the biblical figure, the first man, versus Zeus. So it's the father of gods versus the father of man, which I thought was pretty cool. The kind of comparison between the other two was the fact that they were both warriors that never actually lost a battle. And then the last one we get is Kojiro Sasaki, which is a Japanese samurai, versus Poseidon, the Greek god of the ocean, the earth shaker, the earth wrecker, I think. He had a bunch of epithets and different names because the ocean was like crazy powerful to the Greeks, right? So, and the connection between those two was one never lost and the other one never won. So it was like kind of interesting. But I thought it was pretty good. I think each fight was well paced. Like, I saw a few people say that the pacing of Lu Bu versus Thor was bad. Now, it only took about an episode and a half, so I don't really see how that's pretty bad pacing. I mean, if you're comparing it to the manga, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're kind of being, incorrect, because manga and anime cannot be compared 1-to-1. You can compare the content, but you can't compare the pacing and the, the flow of the story 1-to-1, because the mediums are different, and so they affect how you can interact with the medium, right? You can read a manga faster than you can watch an anime. Like, it's just factual, right? So I don't really think that it's fair to say that the pacing is worse than the manga, purely on like it feeling slower, because I mean, I would assume that would feel slower if it takes you 30 minutes to read to watch the episode when it takes you 10 minutes to read the chapter. Like, of course, it's going to feel different. But again, I haven't really seen the source material, so I wouldn't know, like, fully if the pacing is bad. But from a perspective of watching it, I didn't think it was horrible. The pacing for Battle 2 was pretty good. I did dislike the little 10-second clip in the middle where it was a slideshow, but they didn't really ruin the fight for me because I thought that the importance of it was Adam's sacrifice, and him getting pummeled doesn't really matter that much to me. Although the way they could have cut that scene to feel more impactful could have been better, but I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's only 10 seconds out of 4 hours. It's not that important. And the last battle was my favorite by far. I think it wasn't as like powerful in terms of like, this is badass, as Adam versus Zeus, but it was a lot more meaningful because it was the first one we kind of did well in. So I thought it was really cool. Kojiro Sasaki actually ended up being very interesting. I want to read a lot more samurai stuff just so I can read about him. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed that there was side characters that provided their own kind of story, like Brunhild and Goal. And I also really enjoyed that we got the background for all of the main characters, all of the people that were fighting, because it actually allowed us to develop an emotional connection as the fight went on that really we wouldn't get normally, because in a regular series, you've grown with the character for like 100 chapters before their big fight, right? We didn't get that opportunity here, but because they're historical figures and because they're fighting for humanity, you can kind of get attached to them pretty fast, as long as you get the right information given to you. Yeah, and then characters wise, I thought it was very nice. I think it was cool, good choices, very interesting backstories for all of the characters. Poseidon versus Kojiro was the most interesting because I think it was a very cool dichotomy there with them. Poseidon's backstory was really interesting because it had nothing to do with a mythical figure, but rather with a kind of completely made up story with a 13th Olympian god, which I assume they got from the Zodiac. Like Ophiuchus is the 13th zodiac sign that we don't really talk about because they kind of got pushed out of being used. And the 13th Olympian god that they made up for the story kind of worked the same way. And he even had like a snake motif like Ophiuchus, so that I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, generally it was very interesting how it all worked, and I really like the Valkyries. Like, I really wish that they made a spin-off manga or a spin-off show just to have like the Valkyries interacting, because I really enjoyed them, and see how they kind of mess with human history would be pretty cool. My favorite one was Gol, or Gal, whatever her name is, like the purple-haired one, because I think she's really cute and she has a very kind of funny edge to the series, but rather a very good emotional aspect to it. Plus, she's also essentially the character that is the self-insert character, I guess. She's the viewer, she's the one that gets the information given to her so that we can get the information. So I really like her because she functions as that role pretty nicely without losing her individuality. So I thought it was really good. And I really enjoyed the Valkyries in general, but she was my favorite by far. Brunhild is pretty cool as well, but I mean, she's like the orchestrator of the whole thing. She's kind of important, right? World building wise, I thought it was good. I think it was a nice mix of accurate information plus like enough fake crap added in to kind of give us a much more epic, legendary feeling battle between everything, right? And I thought it was really cool. I like that they gave the humans superpowers in a very vague sense. I mean, the only one that really had a superpower was Adam with his like Sharingan, because it's essentially what the Lord's Eye or whatever it's called was. But I really like that the other characters just had like super attacks based on training and like the fact that they developed their own techniques that other people didn't have. So I thought that was really cool. And also really enjoyed the whole kind of like mixing of mythologies and the whole kind of idea of turning the end of the world Ragnarok into the end of the world that we fight for. So I thought it was really interesting. But now let's talk about the animation, the bad stuff. Well, generally I thought it was okay. I mean, there was a lot of reused sections, like 30, like 5-second clips that got reused, and a lot. But I mean, a lot of anime does that. I can't really fault them for that because it's understandable that they would do this. You have a very short time frame and you have to do this. So if you're going to show the same types of people, why wouldn't you show the same exact idea, right? I mean, Naruto did this all the time. Every time Naruto runs, you see the same animation over and over and over again, especially when they're going through trees. And in battle manga like or battle anime like Dragon Ball Z, you see like the same 5 seconds of punching happen like 20 times in an episode, and you can. That's not a fair complaint. I don't think that that's okay, because how do you complain about this series but not about every other series that has it? I don't think it's a fair negative. The problem here was that 8th episode where they take the climax of the story of the fight between Zeus and Adam and turn it into a slideshow. I definitely agree that it was bad, but I don't think it was that bad, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, the important stuff is relatively well animated. Adam standing victorious but dead, and then all of the other stuff around him. Like, it's not that bad, man. It just 10 seconds. You're really going to allow 10 seconds to ruin a 4-hour experience. I don't really think that works. So you're just like looking to hate it. I don't understand why people dislike it so much. Other than that, I think it was pretty well done. I mean, it's 3D CGI anime. It's not, generally that's not very good. So it was okay for that type of anime. It's just not that horrible. I mean, it's fine. And that's basically my opinion on the animation. It's not horrible. It's okay. It could have definitely been better, but a lot of anime could definitely be better, and they could be animated way better. But people generally don't complain about it that much. Music-wise, I think it was pretty good. I really enjoyed the opening, and the ending was pretty good, and the kind of orchestra, no, not orchestra, like operatic music that they had with vocalizations and kind of very legendary, very expansive feeling music was really good. I really enjoyed it. My favorite little bit of sound that they had was when Poseidon was whistling. I don't know why. That just like felt awesome to me. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very cool sound. And it really invoked like the ocean to me for some reason. I thought it was really awesome. It worked really nicely. Fan service wise, I think there was a little bit of fan service. Basically just Aphrodite showed up and she had giant boobies. And so anytime something happened, you would see like her boobs move, and that's basically the only thing. I mean, she had a little bit of concerning kind of dialogue, but generally it was just for fun. It was kind of very easy to miss if you weren't paying attention, so it's not that big of a deal. No, that's basically it. My rating for this series is a 3.5 out of 5. The animation is definitely not the best, but I don't really mind that much because it's understandable. Like, we already knew that this was going to happen because we saw the trailers. The studio is not that big, and they had a time constraint that is ridiculously small. Like, of course, it's not going to be the best. I can't fault them for, like, subpar animation that is really not that subpar. I think, animation-wise, it's okay. The plotline, characters, and world building were pretty good. Even if there was stuff missing that they took out, the pacing was fair. The fan service was okay. The music was great. I mean, generally, this has way more positives than negatives. And yes, this is because I'm not a fan of the source material beforehand. I understand this, but I mean, that's what it would be for the majority of people in the American manga anime community if we didn't have access to scans. So, I mean, that's not a unfair, interpretation. This is exactly how Japan would expect us to react to this sort of series, like the way I'm reacting, because to them, we don't have access to the source material. So why would we care until the source material is available to us, right? So, yeah. 3.5, because although there's a lot of good stuff, the animation does hurt it a little bit. And the fact that the story isn't really that complex is also not that preferable, right? So I can't give it a 4, but a 3.5 is definitely a fair idea for me. It was definitely more enjoyable than an average anime. It was definitely good. I would watch it again. I mean, it's not that bad. And I definitely want to see the manga. So the anime being long-term advertisements for manga and for merchandise succeeded in getting me to check out the manga. So it did good. Now, I definitely recommend it. I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable. And it's pretty cool. So give it a watch. Don't really go in hating it like the majority of people want you to, because it's not that serious. It's an average show. It's not that bad. It's okay. And I think I don't have any titles that are similar, But, I mean, generally, the understood kind of idea is that stuff like Kengan and Baki are going to be pretty similar, and they're also going to have similar animation, and they're going to be on Netflix as well, so you can watch all of that stuff once you read Record of Ragnarok, or once you watch Record of Ragnarok. But that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it, and see you guys later.